Born China's operate color. Actually, born China's not here in Sri Lanka now. In present, Narikata is started to make born China, but it's not available in Sri Lankan market. So the target for the market. My research is going to the other market, especially high temperature other market. I selected that one is to develop my decoration method. Can be 750 to 1250 centimeters. When considering about the surface decoration method in the ceramic body, there are three types of surface decoration method. One is normal glazing. The other one is decal printing. You know the decal printing is like the printing one. And the hand painting one. When adding a decoration method, we observe it can be used, reduced or residual because the theories are what advantages of the decoration method and also the glaze system. This is the hand painting technique, post painting. When considering about the decal printing, decal is a ceramic. Decal is a kind of decal made from inorganic components which will not burn away in the kiln.
What are the basic elements? It includes clean and fresh water, nutrition, healthcare, education, clothing and shelter. So you can get idea. It's not, you are clear that it's not only based on the money. It extends to the measurement of others, like having access to clean and fresh water. If you have all other things, but you don't have access to the clean and fresh water, that is you deprived of that capacity and you can't be considered as normal. So the relative poverty is like considering measuring the poverty with relative to some other community or other country or group of the society. Right? But comparing the absolute poverty and the relative poverty is better to measure the absolute poverty than relative poverty as into the poverty. Therefore, elevation of poverty is essential. And why multi-dimension is important, right? So this is an example. Actually, I took this slide from one of my undergraduate students. And so if you have nutrition level, now just having food is not sufficient. You have to have a balanced diet. Right? If your food will not include sufficient nutrition level, that considered as that you cannot be considered as sufficient. And you might have money, right? And sufficient education level, right? Everything. For example, an academic might have all these things, but if the academic is living in the area where the dengue infection is prone, if that academic is prone to dengue fever, so that person cannot be considered as a rich person because that person is deprived of health benefits. So multi-dimensional poverty, that's the importance of multi-dimensional poverty. So if you don't look at only one angle, you have to look all the facilities. So why measuring poverty is important? We have to aware the degree of poverty. So to describe the poverty and understand the causes, we need to measure the poverty. Also for policy making and monitoring and evaluate the impact of policy to alleviate poverty, we need to measure the poverty. So measuring poverty is very important. we have to have a proper indicator, proper measure of the poverty. Unless we don't have the proper measure of poverty, although we can using statistics, we can say that the country is developed, actually it may not. When we talk about the indicators of poverty, it can be quantitative or qualitative. This is about $135 around, sorry, in Sri Lankan rupees. So is that enough to live? You have to satisfy your basic need. Is that sufficient? So according to that definition, so because this is this definition may be valid only for some countries, not all the countries. So like Sri Lanka, inflation is very high. That amount is will not be sufficient to cover all the expenses, to cover all the basic needs. So that is not good measure. And also, for example, expenditure. So Sri Lanka used the cost basic need measure. So it includes the cost for.
You gave a reference, but why did you do the technique according to the manufacturer's instructions? I mean, you gave a technique as early as 1992, where somebody has used this technique, and they rushed to the references also. But are you just going to say that you have tried it out with the manufacturer's techniques and all these things, or using notations, or what is it? I mean, why did you use the manufacturers? I'm asking. In a scientific experiment, usually you use a goose technique and then you compare with somebody who has found results. And they said in 1992, they were at 1992. And I don't understand why they probably have to use the manufacturers' instructions. But would they always use that technique, or is it? Because for me, it looks as if you are testing that product for the manufacturer. That's what I'm getting over there. It was a standard technique. Currently, the test is available in the private sector and what is better for me. Which is all of because you have to compare the costs. And it relates to the first day. I don't see how you can get the patient on the first day of the fever. I have gone for all these daily consults and whether they have actually taken the blood from people with 1 to 3 days of fever and done the test to make sure that they were having they could get more than the first slide. 1 5 days, I think. I know 5 days. But they have actually done the PCR.
There are two vectors. This is Egyptari, the major epidemic vector, and it is Arabic, the second vector. And it is to occur from April to October 2010. In North Korea, the epidemic was investigated. Then the investigation of the epidemic revealed the potency of Aedes albopictus being an epidemic vector. Since epidemic potential of Aedes actually we are getting dengue epidemic in those places we find Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus both. Then it is tough, a little difficult to find areas only with dengue with only Aedes albopictus. Therefore, I thought this finding is important for any control in Sri Lanka. This is the map of the Kandy district. This is the mini Bay area, and this area had cases in 2009 also. However, these cases are imported to this area, not the local transmitted cases. And during the study period, the total number of cases in April and it contained in October with the peak in July 2010. This epidemic was identified with the notification of clinically suspected cases by the medical officer in charge at the Divisional Hospital, Hasselberg. And this hospital is the closest sanitary hospital in the area. Then majority of the patients were reported at that hospital. Subsequently, the dengue cases are reported from the closest tertiary care hospital at Mariana. And actually, to confirm this is a dengue epidemic, we wanted to see whether it is actually dengue or some other fever. Therefore, we did some serological studies in collaboration with the University of California. And there we collected venous blood sample from the inward patients. We collected 32 randomly selected clinically suspected indoor-dengue patients and tested for dengue virus by reverse transcription polymerase chain reactions. Also, we investigated some cases to see whether they have got infected in the area itself.
We extracted the solution. We performed in every university.
When you say you extracted 10% by weight, you mean 10% of the chromium that was present in the solution?
Yes.
And may I ask one other question? Now, you were doing these experiments on a solution that contained only chromium as a heavy metal.
Yes.
But a normal fiber extract may contain several heavy metals. Do you expect interference?
Yes, sir. This is the first part because we wanted to see whether there is a high improvement in model solution. If there was, then we thought to do the interference.
Recovery or having that on the flora and fauna is being. So, how do you be able to think or advise on the future as to how this could be applied to some extent in solving that area that is the of the zone of chromium? Both chromium 6 and chromium 4.
Why can't we grow those plants?
That's the thing, so I mean, we suggest that, so can you advise us on that based on this?
I think it's better if we can grow those fiber extracted plants along tangents.
That's the thing, so I mean, advise them, that's one of the problems. That's the practical problem that we have actually. Also, so I
Before I introduce our next speaker, let me remark that I'm very pleased to see such a turnout for Section E to technical session. I don't think I've seen a crowd this big in a long time. Okay, our fifth presentation of the day is entitled Characterization and Quantification of Polyphenol Compounds in Diffuse Tea. The authors are K.N. Kodavada, N.S. Jayasekara, P.H.N.D. Karnataka, and G.H.C.F. Hettiar. Ms. Kodavada will present.
on science policy, scientific community, and professionalism in science, which will be delivered by Dr. Jayewardenepura. To introduce the speaker, I now cordially invite Dr. Jayewardenepura, General President of Sri Lanka Association for the Advancement of Science. Dr. Jayewardenepura and Professor Jayewardenepura will call me back to invite you to the paper.
Within the science policy research team at the National Science Foundation, the current research interests include science and technology policy, science and technology indicators, national innovation systems, scientific communities, and science education. So I am not surprised that she has selected science policy, scientific community, and professionalism in science as the topic of the presidential address. So ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I invite Dr. Jayewardenepura, President of Section D, to deliver the presidential address. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jayewardenepura.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your kind words of introduction, and good morning to all of you. I am really honored to make this address in front of such an intellectual community. As you know, my topic will be science policy, scientific community, and professionalism in science. For the love, hope, and courage brought to my life, I dedicate this speech to my beloved mother and the late father. Now let me tell you why I selected this topic. It is one area of my field of expertise, relevant to all stakeholders in science and technology, and to scientific community in particular. Now, three subjects I am going to say today: science policy, scientific community, and professionalism in science. All three are interconnected. When you think of science policy, you have to think of scientific community. When you think of scientific community, you have to remember there is professionalism in science. When you think of professionalism in science, again there is science policy. My presentation layout will be science policy and its prime aspects very briefly, scientific community and their responsibilities, professionalism in science towards the better maintained between the government and the society to secure each other's responsibilities and values. And please pay your attention to responsibilities and values. Then I will give you the descriptive meaning. Science policy is an area of public policy concerned with the policies that affect the conduct of science and research enterprise, including the funding of science. It is often pursuant of the other national policy goals, such as technological innovation to promote commercial product development, weapons development, healthcare, and environment monitoring. Also refers to the act of applying scientific knowledge and consensus to the development of public policies. This is the science policy framework. First we have public policy, and within public policy, when we address issues relevant to science, we call it science policy. And within science policy, when you address issues relevant to science and technology, we call it science and technology policy. And within that science and technology policy, when you consider issues of innovation policy, we call it science, technology and innovation policy. Why I am telling you this, when I completed my PhD in science policy, I heard this subject is very obsolete. Now the thing is the innovation policy. Then I want to show you innovation policy comes under science policy. Then let me tell you history of science policy. In Britain, from the 1920s through the 1940s, and perhaps a little longer, there are many scientists who believe that science should be pursued not only for the knowledge that it brings to the world around us, but also that knowledge should be put to use in promoting well-being of society. Let me tell you about the pioneers who were on the role of science societies. There were many scientists, social scientists and sociologists who had contributed much to the science policy aspects in the past, such as history of science and technology, freedom of science, social system of science, science and its role towards society, science culture, professionalism in science, etc. Then, with my experience and to make this presentation, I selected 3 scientists who did much work in the science policy and scientific communities. J.D. Bernard and his work. J.D. Bernard was one of the best known and most controversial scientists for stage by his friends and known for pioneering work, X-ray crystallography and molecular biology. Seeing the mass destruction of lives and resources in the First and the Second World Wars, Bernard brought the school of thought that scientists must move away from the ivory tower thinking. That is, scientists are people who are completely removed from emotion in order to perform their work in laboratory and are usually unaware of what is happening outside the laboratory, or even so, they do not care. In 1939, Bernard published the book, The Social Function of Science, which set out his views on the role of science and society, which may serve in the society. The next person is Robert Q. Merton. Robert Q. Merton was a distinguished American scientist and sociologist. Much of the intellectual thinking about scientific communities however, has been shaped by the influential work of modern. He explained the institutional origins of modern science, which led him to delineate the characteristics of science as an institution regulated by certain norms or ethos in terms of two laws. I will explain it later. Then the third person is Thomas Samuel Kuhn. Thomas Samuel Kuhn was an American historian and philosopher of science who was deeply influential in both academic and popular circles. In his book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, he explains the role of science in society by introducing the term paradigm shift, which has since become an English language staple. I will also explain the term paradigm shift later. Then, when it comes to the role of science in society, again, science policy, and these soft sciences research and under social sciences research. And I must tell you, I learned the beauty of hard sciences research by learning social sciences research or soft sciences research. In that case, the science policy. How are science policies formulated? Often we think that when you become senior or when you are senior executive officers or senior people that you are qualified to make policies. Maybe, but still you need to have evidence-based research, and through such research there should be data and indicators. And when analyzing data and indicators, we can do interpretation, and there through interpretation you recommend science policy insights. Implementation of science policy is a major problem faced by many countries. No strategic plans work out in many cases, no protocols developed for top-down and bottom-up approach, just no strong indicators among actors involved for implementation, no strict reviews of progress of such implementation. The science policy in South Asian context, I thought I would talk on that because it is most relevant to us than to European countries. The basic science policy practiced in India, by I said that I completed my PhD in science policy at the Jayewardenepura University in New Delhi. There I got exposed to basic science practices, science policy practices in India. This is one Sri Jayewardenepura. He was addressing the Indian Science Congress at first independent Indian Congress. There is no doubt that in India there is a growing realization of the fact that the politician and the scientist should work in close cooperation. The solution to all our social and economic problems depends on this cooperation, and therefore no state can afford to ignore this. I'm sure some of you must be thinking that I'm praising this politician and political involvement, hoping that I might get a good designation or a good job or whatever the high position, but that is not so. This is where I have seen science policy implementation in Sri Lanka has been failed. In India, the independent India, I must say, they had a long mission, and they have really correctly identified the three theorems of science policy: institutionalization, professionalization, and essentially human resource development. Institutionalization means you have to establish institutions with all facilities, all equipment, and knowledge base. That means scientists. And when you work in a particular institution for a specific subject or any crop or anything, throughout long years when you work, you become a professional in the particular subject. And then towards professionalism, essentially human resource base is very important. We need to develop. Fortunately, India has followed all these approaches.
they must be intelligent, they must work very in cooperation. And you see the other elements, we have to conduct need-based research, and we have to educate our school, our children from the beginning towards science. And then once you conduct need-based research, we must make sure extension and commercialization, and of course the new technology, information communication technology, towards dissemination of these important research findings. As you know, funds for SNP and R&D depends on, of course, there are donor agencies, but how very well we have a close relationship with the government and the minister. And scientists, their duty is to conduct research and give out research results. Ultimate goal of science policy is to ensure a prosperous nation through a significant contribution by science, technology and innovation. And then I'll come to the next topic, scientific communities and their responsibilities. Scientific community usually we identify in policy or indicators as scientists and technologists, which include medical researchers as well. And there are again scientists and technologists. One category is they are doing research, the other category is services, administration and management for the development of science. They are doing R&D, research and development. Main categories of scientific communities, usually there is global scientific community, national scientific community, expatriate scientific community. Global scientific community, where it is common to all of us. Scientists and technologists are the most important actors in the field of science group. They are intellectuals confined to research in laboratories who contribute to scientific research and development or R&D activities. They work together, check each other's work, help inspire new ideas, catch cases of bias and fraud, and help motivate each other. Nevertheless, they are not usually bothered about how they could contribute towards the betterment of the society or socio-economic development of the country. When you analyze the scientific community, as I explained earlier, now they are coming up with new ideas, questions and all based on their theory or based on what they observe, and then they have discussions with their colleagues, and then they undertake research, and on that research they get feedback and peer review, then it leads to publication, and also discussion of topic will help you to avoid replication of such research. In terms of the process of science, members of the community play several essential and direct roles. This is us, analysis of scientific community. We can be fact checker or critics. We just say some things and we double check and we analyze and we give criticism on various issues. Or over tea or leisure times, you discuss your ideas separately and new ideas come and new visionary is given. They are innovators and visionaries. They are also watchdogs because when they see scientists, they go deep into the subject, whether that is true or not. And also cheerleaders or taskmasters. Because when I mention cheerleaders, many would like to listen to scientists. They think they are doing a good job, and it is very important that we listen to scientists. And we present our countries or the SLAAS likewise, and also they are taskmasters because they somehow or other get their task done. Further perspectives of scientific community. The traditional concept of scientific community has widened to incorporate new dimensions of activity presented by the shift of center of gravity from pure academic science. The traditional concept of scientific community has widened to incorporate new dimensions of activity presented by the shift of center of gravity from pure academic
Thus, the scientific community can be defined as a group of scientists working on a set of norms and values in a social organization or a system towards knowledge creation or problem solving. In the mode of normal science to a paradigm to achieve a common objective or goal, from single disciplinary science to multidisciplinary science. As I mentioned earlier, much of intellectual thinking about scientific communities, however, has been shaped by the influential work of Robert Kagan, American scientist and sociologist, who is considered to be the father of science, so the father of sociology of science. In his book Social Theory and Social Structure, Merton explained the institutional origins of modern science, which led to him to delineate the characteristics of science as an institution regulated by certain norms and rules, which are termed as rules. Cues are social and ethical norms regulating the behavior of scientists. C stands for community. Science is for all and is for common use, which can be utilized by everyone. This norm directs scientists to share findings with other scientists freely and without favor. Universalism. Scientific theories or laws, once established, are universal. For example, they are universally applicable, or in other words, empirical knowledge knows no national boundaries. D is for disinterestedness. Scientific activity is a disinterested search for knowledge and truth, the primary goal of which is the extension of knowledge. Organized skepticism, scientific idea, hypothesis, or theories are open to discussion and criticism to bring out concepts to the understanding of the natural world. But we usually do if our work is criticized, we get angry and that person is criticized, not that we are used to learn from that criticism. Paradigm shifts in science. Thomas Kuhn, an American physicist and expert in the history of science, in his book Structure of Scientific Revolution, puts forward his main thesis that the basic change in science is characterized by paradigm shifts between normal science and evolutionary science. Paradigm shift means when you work in order, you go step by step. But paradigm shifts, you can avoid 2-3 steps and jump into the high step. But usually happens is then you are again being criticized. In any community of scientists who says there are some individuals who are older than many others, these scientists embark on what Kuhn calls revolutionary science, exploring alternatives to long-held, obvious seeming assumptions. Occasionally, this generates rivalry to the established framework of thought. The new candidate paradigm will appear to be accompanied by numerous anomalies, partly because it is still so new and incomplete. The majority of the scientific community will oppose any conceptual change and who emphasizes so they should. So everybody has to criticize, everybody has to share their ideas, and many people can give their own ideas. Now the paradigm shift, one interesting thing, I don't know whether time allows I can share some joke. When we were working, one scientist, when the National Science Foundation was being renovated, one scientist said, why not we have a lift to go to the second floor? Everybody else laughed. Why are you so lazy? Then he said, okay, when I but now I see when we grow old, you would have preferred after the first row, people which was there to go to the second row. And also, there is a government regulation now. We must pay way to all disabled people to come to the old institution anywhere they can go. So see the future of the revolutionary science. In order to fulfill its potential, the scientific community needs to contain both individuals who are conservative and individuals who are bold. That adds beauty to scientific community. The other side of scientific community. We often forget the human side of scientists, that they are people who, in addition to their professional labors like professor, researcher, physicist, chemist, engineer, science manager, etc. Also they have personal labors like musicians, artists, singers, dancers, lyrics writers, cook, hiker or painter. And I was very happy to see our General President is a very good lyrics writer, and we listened to the song written by him at the inauguration program. At first glance, these personal persons may seem irrelevant to the process of science. In fact, the opposite is true, because science benefits from the creativity and interest of a diverse group of individuals who bring many different points of view to the table. They bring all the strengths and weaknesses of humans to their profession, from creativity of problem solving by doing research, again they create problems to the others due to the failures of correct judgment. We must understand this. Science does not exist but appear bold without these unique contributions of the scientific community. And I must also tell you, the science policy pioneers were all scientists, physicists, training up. Mostly they have worked on this, not the social scientists. Because when we talk of science policy, people like a heard, people criticize, oh, that is a science, social science, not like hard science. So I want to mention, science policy was brought to the table by scientists. Scientists, the influence of personal experience. Usually, scientists remain objective to the outcomes of the research they undertake, but their personal experiences, interests, and background often contribute to the research topics that they pursue. For example, undertaking cancer research could be the reason that a close relative died of cancer. Undertaking research on water quality could have been the reason for having to drink polluted water in the village. And the concept of national science community, I will explain. The concept of national scientific community signifies the formation of national identities in the practice, production and advancement of scientific knowledge to secure a place in the international sphere of science. And there's a time that this scientific community concept was emerging in the countries. As at now, there are large scientific communities in India and China, considered among those countries, medium, Brazil and Egypt, and small countries like Senegal in Africa. They are very strong scientific communities. From the social system, scientific community is a form of social system of science that shows how members of the system can continue to engage in research, share findings, and maintain a common universe of issues. Even though science appeared in the institutionalized form since the late 16th and 17th centuries, the transformative role of science did not come about until the emergence of professional communities in the 19th century Europe and 20th century North America. gratefully acknowledge the contribution of our great local scientists who took the lead role in establishment of the Ceylon Association for the Advancement of Science, SLAAS, in 1944, which later renamed as SLAAS, which gave the opportunity for us to come together and discuss all scientific aspects. And also, if you are not very happy in your institution, maybe there is a program to show your talents. Then I will give you statistics of scientific community, which is also important, our R&D manpower. I have shown the selected countries here. You see, India, of course, there are no figures after 2003 in the science report 2009 UNESCO report. But see, Republic of Korea, then Japan, then Brazil, Argentina, and Singapore, the number of R&D manpower per million population. And also, researchers that is full-time equivalent per million population, I will come back to full-time equivalents. That is true. Local scientific community, this is based on the National Research and Development Survey conducted by the Science Policy Research Bureau, the National Science Foundation. According to this survey, there are about scientists and technologists 10,222. And out of that lot, only 4,037 involved in research and others 6,185 in administration, management, services towards the development of science. Science and technology personnel by category. Now as you see here, out of that total number of 10,000, research involved, that's what the information I gave, that is only 9%. The administration or services only 30.9%. Then the local scientific community, remember this figure, R&D manpower strength is 4,037. R&D manpower or head count by sector. As you see, higher education has the highest number of R&D manpower, but at the same time, please observe the numbers getting increased. And in the state comes next, and the private and NGOs. And it is also a small number, but we have observed the growth in the private sector research and also the number of scientists. Educational qualifications of our R&D manpower, as you see, out of those 10,000 or 4,037 researchers, only 1,138 has PhDs in 2008. But what is important here, when you have a PhD resource base, they are independent researchers. They are trained in such a way to conduct independent research. That is the strength we have. See the number we have here. And all these scientific communities I mentioned have those other qualifications. Hit count of R&D manpower by disciplinary and sex. Natural sciences, of course, naturally, has the highest number, and engineering sciences, 927, where male engineers are more male engineers. Then medical sciences, both males and females are doing it. Then let me tell you about full-time equivalent of researchers. The figure is out of 4,037 researchers, only 1,972 scientists are equivalent for full-time. That means the scientists who work in state research institutions. For the whole 8 hours or beyond that, they do research. They do whatever the work towards research. But in the case of universities, their responsibility is 75 million for teaching and other 25% will be research as per their research allowance. And engineering and technology, you see the males dominate and compared to females. The number of full-time researchers, that is the 1,972 I mentioned. Again, the state sector has 971 because they are research institutions. Then let me come to research productivity of scientific community. Then when it comes to research productivity, no matter what people say, the most accepted productivity is the publication of research results. And in the science citation index, I have given the figures, and the science citation index, you see there are around 76 journals in the world, and there are 7,500 journals in the science citation expanded list. Out of that, 2,500 journals in the whole list. I am happy to say National Science Foundation Journal is listed under science citation expanded, which is, though the impact index may be still low, we are in the 7,000 big list out of the 76,000. And as you see, the science citation index in 2007 and 8, we have seen there is an increase, and also the percentage of foreign co-authors in all cases have gone down. That says the local scientists, there is a strength in local science research. The expected scientific community, I don't go into details, this is based on the range of scientific community conducted using a stock analysis, and as you see, the highest number is PhD. They are wrong. And I can remember Admiral Officer Samsung yesterday mentioned the records. There are about 600 scientists who have kept for PhDs and not written. And when it comes to the specialization area, you see most engineers have left country, followed by chemists, and also microbiology, biotechnology areas. Again, we have seen this indication from other studies as well. Even though people consider here microbiology, biotechnology, and molecular biology areas, they are the best areas to concentrate on. Sri Lanka is not prepared to recruit them. Unfortunately, they are here for some time and they will come. Then SLAAS, so given those bases, depending on the things I mentioned, there are certain policy highlights. Need to increase SLAAS human resource base with PhDs. Need to develop a research culture. Need to increase scientific and research publication output. Need to create a professional scientific community. And let me tell, as and now, the majority of our institutions are structured. Usually, the pyramidal shape structure is the best structure, where the junior scientists like water, and regularly they are trained and they are given opportunities to come to the top position. But whereas in our country, most of the junior scientists, they forever until they retire, they lie low on the bottom. Only a few people are in the top. This is where scientific has gone wrong in Sri Lanka. Because in the new generations, there are new thinking, new innovative approaches. Don't let me all due respect to our senior scientists and academics. This is the truth. Policy insights, again for SLAAS human resource base. Provide regular training in the area of expertise, allow exposure to related events, meetings and programs with stakeholders, allow a certain degree of autonomy work. That is very, very important. Assign responsibilities in the working place to build up confidence in the duties handled. Because in many cases, they are not given responsibilities. And so they don't learn. And finally, at the end, we hear that they are not mature. They are not experienced. This is wrong. Work out clear directives of career development with establishing hierarchical positions in the progressive manner if we are to have our scientists stop here. Then I will be failing my duties if I do not talk about women scientists. See, women scientists study, the figures are different because this is based on another study conducted in data in 2006 and 4. its survey. In the higher education, the highest female scientists were. Again, there is a slight difference in the number. And state sector, there is not much of a difference. It's 2 years. And private sector, which is quite good. The educational qualifications of women scientists. Out of the total women scientists, only 20% have PhDs as their highest academic qualification. 29% possess MPhil and MSc degrees. 21% have BSc special degrees. 26% have only BSc general degrees as their qualification. 4% only have working experience. And according to the disciplines, 34 conducted research in the area of natural sciences, 22% in medical and health sciences, 18% in agriculture sciences, 17% as usual in engineering and technology, 8% in social sciences and humor. So that is natural, why we cannot take attention to the beauty of social sciences research to enrich the hard sciences research. Then let me come down to women doctoral degree holders in the scientific sector of Sri Lanka. The age distribution pattern I have given and category. So where are we? In fact, we need to assist our young scientists towards PhDs. Otherwise, very soon, we will not be able to develop a scientific sector. There are only 20%. We must have plans and policies. Then working women areas, doctoral degree holders, biology is the highest area, followed by agriculture and medical and health sciences, and 12% is chemical sciences. Then degree holders in different categories, usually the university sector has the highest number of female doctoral degree holders. R&D institutions is 20%, service sector 1%, and private and non-profit. As at that time we analyzed it was zero. Maybe the private sector will not have realized as the science, women scientists are better managers. Administration and management 4%. And those who are experienced in administration, research and academic see the number 1.2, the most valued block. And representation of women doctoral degree holders in higher administration positions don't think for a minute that I'm trying to bring gender issue here. Now see the VCs, deans, directors, chairmen, CEOs in our country. Overall CEOs only 18% females. And out of that 18%, only 0.3, 0.5% females. I hope my Indian scientists, she agrees with me, women scientists are better managed in the better management. And relatedness of PhD to the current work, this is interesting. Most of these female doctoral degree holders, they are doing related work or somewhat related. However, it was noted that most of these women scientists achieved their PhDs by engaging in present employment and therefore had a good chance of selecting their field of study. The reason is, unlike women scientists, male scientists, they straight away they may be starting their PhDs by the time they complete and now they will be put into a totally different field. Whereas in the case of women scientists, they take time to establish and bring up their family, and when they are given a scholarship, they come back to the same position. There are constraints faced by women scientists because bureaucratic procedures in their institutions that hamper the work progress, which is common in many countries. Not having residents near the learning place, that is also true because of security purposes, they may prefer to leave the working place early. The number of women who enter to the labor market every year with qualifications in the area of science and technology is almost equal to men, and therefore planning authorities in the country should take immediate initiatives to work out suitable policy planning measures to encourage active participation of women in science areas. Such approaches will increase the contribution of women to science and technology towards the socio-economic development of the country. Then the third subject, professionalism in science towards the betterment of the society. In fact, basic units in science policy, as I mentioned, is institutionalization. You have to establish well-organized institutions. Then you need to allow scientists work in a particular institution for a long time to become a professional, and then that gives a professionalized scientific community. There is professionalism in science. The professionalized scientific community, again, there are two types: professional activities they conduct, professional behavior they have. That means professionalism in science. Then these things, in fact, are research findings, and many countries also have proved this type of findings. Highly specialized research structures they create. The professional scientist, for example, if you set up an institution, say microbiology institution in California, then Institute of IMD in Colombo, they are the dynamic personalities, they do not function, they establish. Areas and networks of scientific research, dissemination of scientific knowledge, they are very concerned about it. Science communication is important. Let me take at this point. Science should be taught in English, that is correct, to move forward. But scientists should be very able to take their findings to the rural society in their own mother tongue. That is where we have failed. And even among us also, we usually discuss these issues in English language. This is not to put down, but we need to. Because I have seen this in India. Even though at forums they discuss everything in English, but to them they discuss in Hindi. Then publishing quality journals, professional societies, effective technology transfer, university shares, the professional scientists, because of the professional conduct, they get those transfers. System of national recognition, system of rewards, granting fellowships, signify the existence of professionalized scientific communities in a particular country. Then professional behavior of scientists, it is again two categories: ethical conduct and professional conduct. They are interrelated. Ethical conduct assures the reliability of research results and the safety of research subjects. So we have to, if you are a scientist concerned of ethics, you have to give the correct results that you get, not because of not to prove the other person's findings. And also safety of research subjects. Say for a small experiment, you need not kill thousands and thousands of rats. You have to think of all those issues. Benefits from the creativity, curiosity, and diligence of individuality. So you must be very creative, you must be very curious, and that is the way you have to behave, to come up with good science proposals, and then end up with good scientific results. Social responsibilities and constitutional disciplines of kudos, as highlighted by Robert. Then professional conduct, that is professional conduct, long years of contribution to specific field or fields. That is also very important. But in fact, in our country like Sri Lanka, say for example, Department of Agriculture, because of the promotional system, we need to apply for the next promotion, you need to work in a totally different organization. And also, there is this internet facility now. Everybody can download any information and write papers, and after publishing 2-3 papers, they claim that they are the people who work in that very important. We have not learned to respect other professionals. This is very, very important because, as I mentioned, now say, this is just a joke. Anyway, now because of the CISCO, we think the engineers and medical persons are the brain. But true for an exam to enter the university. Over long years, if the other these people, they have contributed substantial manner, they are equal. You cannot say we are medical personnel, they are engineers like that. Everybody is equal to their work. And we funds the laboratory institution or institution for research, actively involved in professional societies and frequent meetings and seminars. Train and supervise young generation of scientists is very, very important to have established structure in the system. Regular research publications in reputed journals. The professional conduct maintain incentive structures at the laboratory and institution level to motivate scientists. Create an arena of competition among research groups with innovative ideas towards R&D, assures transparency and accountability for funds, recognize scientific positions at national and international levels, pay way to the career development and prospects of younger generation, move out from the system at the correct time. This is one research finding during my PhD studies. I studied on scientific communities. By the time I Indian system, scientists in India and Sri Lanka, there were very good scientists who were concerned that they didn't have any promotional avenues, but they are closer to retirement, they are qualified, they are experienced, and they can contribute much to the society. Now, by the time I present this is the third generation. Telling the same thing, that they are qualified, experienced, and capable, they are not given opportunities to serve and give the maximum benefit from what the government and the other institutions take on. Then the results of learning scientific communities. When you are talented, there are no challenges. But when there are challenges, remember that will give opportunities to you. And with that opportunities, you use those opportunities and contribute, then I'm sure you will come up with success. And when it is success, you are always happy. Not alone with other talents as well. Because you improve your work. And these are my references. I selected references I use for my presentations. And the acknowledgement. This is my supervisor, Professor Krishna, now serving as Chairman, Center for Science Studies, Center for Studies in Science Policy, Jayewardenepura. He is a tough person. And my advisor is Professor Jayewardenepura. He is a scientific advisor to the late Prime Minister of India, Srimati Indira Gandhi. And the second advisor is Professor Jayewardenepura, Chairman, Jayewardenepura Foundation. He is the father of the Green Revolution in India. So these three scientists enriched with me their ideas as to how to move forward. And my supervisor is a Gandhian. He is preferring the Gandhi's policies that we must build up internal capacity and internal technologies. Then my advisor Parthasarthi was a Nehruvian who was thinking we have to go out of your country and get technologies from other countries and we have to move on back. Well, my other advisor, Dr. Swaminathan, is a mix of it. Then acknowledgement. Swedish International Development Agency, I am gratefully acknowledged for funding my PhD program. In a support of management for Gandhi study. My peers in science policy work here and abroad, and those who are not present here today. And Professor Y.K. Sen for his continuous encouragement at a time that I thought I was a little old to do a PhD. My teachers in the University of Peradeniya who taught me not only the subject
for that, we are given the additional 5 more minutes. Thank you very much.
Next exhibition and exhibition held in concurrence with the 67th annual session of the Sri Lankan Association for the Advancement of Science. One purpose of this exhibition is to create an environment for the junior students in schools, the future brains in this country, to meet and discuss with the scientists in this country and exchange their views and ideas. So please do visit the exhibition and encourage our youngsters. This time is measured 250 exhibits. Out of 126 applications received from various parts of the country, with very good participation from North and East School. So please do visit our exhibition. Thank you.